Back on Mix 1041 and MixTV.tv. And we are joined now by Roman Harper. Roman is with the SEC Network and, of course, SEC Nation with a tremendous crew there. But, of course, before that, Roman spent 9 of his 11 NFL seasons with the New Orleans Saints, and he's an inductee of the Hall of Fame. He won of the New Orleans Saints. He won a Super Bowl with the Saints and went to another Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. Roman Harper, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about you guys? Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate that, and also the wonderful introduction.
Well, we're certainly honored to have you, and we wanted to invite you on just really to talk about a couple of things, but especially this NFL championship weekend. And Roman, you've been there before. You know what these guys are going through.
Yeah, it's look, man. They say if you think it's an important game, just win it, and the next ones are always just a little bit more. So you work so hard all year long to get home field advantage for the teams that have it, and for the teams that don't have it, it's just so hard to get here. You got to be lucky, you got to be injury free, and the ball's got to bounce your way, and you got to be good. So all the work that goes into this game, that's all led up to this one moment, to this one Sunday. It really means the world. And lucky for me, I won both of these games that I was actually playing in. So it just takes a lot to get there. And then finally, when you get there, just to continue to pour out and to pour into everything else that goes into it. It's just so much for only 60 minutes. And somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose it.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly so. We're joined by Roman Harper. Of course, he played at the University of Alabama and then went on to a tremendous professional career. I want to begin, Roman, actually with the AFC game. Go ahead. Yeah, Roman.
The AFC game?
Yeah, I want to begin with the AFC game. Chiefs at the Ravens. And my goodness, Roman, there's a lot of people who think that the Ravens are the best team in the NFL at this point. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that and what they've done all year long, the teams that they've beaten, and they've looked strong all year. It's I'm rooting for them naturally just because I'm just tired of the naysayers on Lamar Jackson. So this is like Lamar Jackson's revenge tour, and I'm part of the crew.
Okay. So, I mean, is it safe to say you think the Ravens win at home against Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Well, the thing about it is that you have the one person that, and I hate using like war tactics or propaganda whenever I talk about sports, because sports is still just a game. But Kansas City is like, they have the one thing that you can't control or don't know the outcome of, and that is the nuclear weapon that is Patrick Mahomes. And he is the best player at the most important position. So whenever you have that, you always have a chance. It's like having Caitlin Clark in women's basketball in the NCAA. It's like, all right, we can add all these factors, and if we do X, Y, Z, we're good. But then you always have this one factor that you have no control of, which is the nuclear ability of Patrick Mahomes that makes everybody else around him so much better, that he can go out there and take over a game, get hot, and do what he does, which he's proven he's done this year after year since he's been a starter. He's been in the AFC Championship game every year as a starter, so that tells you alone how great he is. And then it's the same thing with Caitlin Clark in women's basketball. It's like, she can go out there and put up 45 in a heartbeat, and, you played great, except she went up there and put out 45. So if you can contain Patrick Mahomes, you have a chance, which is what I'm saying. It's like, if you can contain Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're joined by Roman Harper. I got to get your take on it because everybody's talking about it. It's such a small fraternity of men who have played at this level and especially at this stage of the season. So, obviously, when we think of the Chiefs, this year especially, we think of that singer named Taylor Swift. Do you think, is she a distraction in your mind, in your opinion, to these players or their organization?
No, not at all. The only reason she's any type of anything of a distraction as far as football is concerned is because the cameras keep going up there to wherever box she's at. I mean, other than that, the guys on the field, they don't care. I mean, it's just Travis's girlfriend. Like, nobody cares. within the locker room, like people just don't get caught up in those things. Nobody cares about what you're doing with your own male whatever outside of the locker room. Like nobody cares. So that is going to continue to be the same. The only difference is that Travis Kelce's actually dating a billionaire that's a singer and a sensation. Everybody loves her. And the only problem I have with it all is like the Swifties have merged into the lane of NFL, which like they pretend like he didn't exist before. And I'm like, actually, no, the NFL lane has been here the whole time, but now they've completely merged together. And the NFL loves it because it's free dollar signs and more attention for them. But I actually don't think a lot of the Swifties are tuning in on Sundays to see Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs either. I just think it was just a hot topic and something that we all like to discuss because it gets clicks.
Absolutely right. We're joined by the great Roman. Well, I agree with you. Although my 14-year-old daughter did watch that first Sunday night game at the Jets, that you know when NBC was explaining the NFL.
Yeah, that was then. This is like, okay, it's over with now. We kind of moved on. I don't know why the Chiefs thought we didn't exist before. It's like, I mean, yeah, like Travis Kelce is just a jag, which is just a guy. And I'm like, this guy's one of the best of all time. And he's swaggy. And honestly, in my opinion, Travis Kelce's the best thing that she could date, honestly, clearly. She hasn't dated an alpha male like this with his body type, his size. She's not going to get better than this. I'm just telling you. That's my opinion.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. I totally agree. Let's go to the NFC, Roman, where like you said, you spent time in the NFC Championship game with the Saints and then the Panthers. Lions at the 49ers. The Lions, obviously, the sentimental story of this postseason.
Yeah, I'm going Lions, and I'm compromised because I have former teammates and former coaches on that staff, so I've been rooting for Detroit all year long. But it's something he said when, you know, you have a team that knows its identity, that sticks to its identity. And, you know, everybody thought like Dan Campbell was just a little bit thrown off when he's talking about biting kneecaps and all that other stuff when he first got the job. But actually, this is exactly what his team turned out to be and what they've been able to build and construct there with him and Aaron Glenn, my former teammate and coach, controlling the defense. So I'm really, really happy for these guys individually. They also got a couple of former Alabama guys, Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs, making impact plays. So I'm really rooting for Detroit. I've loved San Francisco growing up, but then once I played against them and went to Candlestick Park a couple of times, I was like, this place is kind of overrated. I wish they would have did more with some of the greats, but hey, whatever. I moved on. So yeah, I'm going Detroit. I think they're the better team. They have played. They're just the team that's playing better right now, and it's not always about the regular season wins or losses. That sets you up for home field or not. But who's playing the best right now during playoff ball? I would give that nod to Detroit, and they know exactly who they are. And the defense just has to step up. And without Deebo Samuels on the outside, I think the mismatch on the outside seems less when you only have Brandon Ayuk to throw the ball to. And I don't think Kittle is going to be able to do enough. He needs like 150 yards if they're going to win this game. I think they can hold him to under 90. And so with that, I'll take Detroit.
So if I'm hearing you right, you've got the Ravens and the Lions in the Super Bowl. What happens then?
You know, I can't forecast that far out because if you've been around the game long enough, you know injuries matter. So I'll have to see who gets there and who walks in healthy enough, and then I'll be able to make my determinations from then, because then only then can you say like where or forecast what it may truly be. And then even at that point, you just never know. I played in 2 Super Bowls myself. One Super Bowl, we were the underdog, and that was with New Orleans, and we won that game versus the Indianapolis Colts. And then when I was with the Panthers versus the Broncos in Super Bowl 50, we were the kind of the heavy favorite, and we lost. So you just never know, and it really truly is. The thing I love about the NFL, especially playoff football, is that it's the team that plays the best that day that wins. Like, everybody's good. And the quality of football played in the playoffs is so high. I just appreciate it, and that's the only time I ever truly feel like I miss football is playoffs. Other than that, I don't care anything about it. I care about it, but I don't miss it. And but the intensity, the things that you play for, the camaraderie, and just the raw emotions of playing in the playoffs is just different.
Does this mean you'll call me back before the Super Bowl?
I mean, I got your number, so I could. Yeah, I mean that's fine. I'll be in Vegas. I'll be in Vegas the whole week leading up to it. So maybe we'll just do this again then, and we'll see how right I am or if I was wrong. But I don't think I'm going to be wrong on these.
So you're going to be in Las Vegas the entire week leading in?
I will be. I get there Tuesday. I'll be there recording my podcast here. You guys can give me a shout out. It's NFL Players Second Act podcast with me and Peanut Tillman. We interview all different walks of life throughout the former players that are now doing it all in their second act, which Peanut's in his second act, me, myself, Roman Harper, I'm in my second act. And just kind of going through that transition of being a football player your whole life to all of a sudden transitioning to that second act is so hard. And there is no formula for a successful way to do it. That is the one thing I have learned with interviewing 20, 30 different former NFL players is that we all got to figure it out. And all the things that made us successful on the field really truly drives us in our second act as well. And as long as we don't teeter away from those qualities, those unique qualities that all allowed us to get to the highest level, we're usually all successful in the next level, in the next chapter as well.
We're joined and pleased to be joined by Roman Harper. I've got to get your take I got to get your take on Nick Saban retiring from your alma mater, Alabama. What do you make of it?
Well, there's not much of a take. I thought it was much of a surprise, but, for those that actually knew, it wasn't a huge surprise. So this has kind of been on the mind for a little while. Not only that, but, the dude's 73. So, Father Time is undefeated. And with the scheduling, everything else, and it was some signs out there as well. So, number one, hats off to him and his great career. I remember when they first hired Nick Saban, nobody ever thought he would stay anywhere for that long because he hadn't. And we looked up 17 years later, he completely changed what Alabama is and the forecast going forward as well. So, and Alabama was already a great program. You look on the Hall of Fame or the Mount Rushmore college football coaches, you got two of them up there, Nick Saban and Bear Bryant, and they're both associated with the University of Alabama. So Alabama's always been great, and will be great going forward as well. But it will look different. It will be different. I thought the athletic director, Greg Byrne, did a great job of bringing in the best qualified, a coach that I didn't even think was on the radar. I would have liked for him to hire from somebody within because that's usually the only time I've seen these successions of following the GOAT actually work a little bit. But Colin DeBoer's a great coach. You cannot argue with his record or the thing he's been able to accomplish everywhere he's been at all different levels. So that being said, you think it's going to work. I just know the success rate of following up the GOAT just isn't that high. It just hardly ever works. So good luck. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to meeting Coach DeBoer and his whole staff. And in Alabama, they're used to and expecting great things. So the standard will not change. The standard was elevated, but it'll be interesting to see how it continues to go at the rate that it is. And the success that Coach DeBoer has, especially if and when he loses his first game. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but when it does, how does the fans react?
Well, let's hope it's the third Saturday in October, Roman, if that's possible.
I think it probably will not be, but hey, anything's possible, right? I think that's in a Gatorade or a Nike commercial or something, but hey, anything's possible.
Hey, Roman Harper, I've got to mention.
And that's another thing I'm talking about. Just off the random thought is just like that is what Nick Saban did to everybody. Like he changed the culture of all college football, where it used to be where you had 4 years to get your recruiting in and your staff and everybody together, and he changed all of that because he had so much success so fast, and he beat so many coaches. Like Tennessee and Alabama's always been a rivalry of streaks. Well, guess what? Nobody beat him. Right? Auburn was the only team that could beat him every now and then. They beat him 4 times out of 17 years. That was it. Nobody else even came close to being what you would call successful versus Nick Saban. And so Hugh Freeze won a couple times in Ole Miss, but that just was like what it was. But other than that, nobody else, even the great Kirby Smart at Georgia, still has not figured that problem out. He has not figured the solution to that problem that is Nick Saban. And because of that, he changed everything in college football. I don't think we understand the ramifications of what all he did as far as winning, building what Alabama was, how dominant that team and that university was for so long under Nick Saban. I don't think we'll see that again, especially with the transfer portal and him still dealing with the transfer portal, NIL, and still finding ways to be successful. Even a great example of last year's team where after we saw them lose to Texas and what they looked like versus South Florida, you'd have said they were going to lose 4 more games. And they actually played Michigan, the number 1 team in the country, that won the national championship better than anybody else.
Certainly so. And, Roman, I got to thank our mutual friend, Brittany Jackson Tucker, for making all this happen. I know you've supported her in her charitable efforts, especially for the Pat Summitt Foundation and others over the years, and I appreciate her introducing us.
Well, Brittany's as good as gold. She's a great person, a great human being. I'm not used to saying Brittany Jackson Tucker. I mean, I got to get used to that. But yeah, man, I just call her B. So she's great people, and thank you for introducing us. And I'm a big fan of Tennessee. Even when I go to the campus of Knoxville, it's always good times, and it's a different thing. Look, the only thing I knock about Knoxville in Tennessee, and she knows this, is that, I mean, besides the song Rocky Top being a little bit annoying after like the first 30 times you hear it, I mean, other than that, I like Tennessee. And besides, and like the only other thing I knock it is like the Tennessee orange is just a little much. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. It's and it just doesn't go with everything. So you got to be smart. Like, okay, well, you put the orange Tennessee on a black sweatshirt. Okay, I love it. It's cool. It's great. Or you dim it down with a little bit of gray. But just the orange itself, it just doesn't pop with a lot of colors. And I'm a man that likes to be stylish. So that's my only issue with Tennessee. They know it. I talk to fans about it, and they don't even disagree with me. They're like, yeah, it is kind of a lot. You know, low-key it is. Hey, we love our university. I'm like, I'm not asking you not to. It's really cool there. It's a great city. Yeah. But the orange is a lot. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and especially if they lose, it really is. Well, hey, Roman Harper, I'm gonna hold you to it. I want to talk to you before the Super Bowl when you're there in Las Vegas. Hey, how can people find your podcast?
You can look it up. It's I got 2 different ones. So the NFL podcast, it's anywhere you listen to your podcast, whether it's iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. We're there. NFL Players Second Act podcast with Roman Harper and Peanut Tillman, and then also I do a podcast with my boy Kyle Bailey and Roman Harper, the Bailey and Harper podcast, and you can listen to those at the same places as well. Yeah. And that's more of Charlotte-based sports lifestyle. We do a whole thing right here in my man cave in my room. We record once a week. So, yeah, it's really fun. 2 totally different walks. But check me out, man. And then also on Twitter, I'm Harp41. And on Instagram, I'm Harp_41, which I hardly ever tweet, or X, whatever you call it.
Whatever it is.
I do get on the gram, so.
Well, absolutely. Exactly. Absolutely. Listen, Roman, it's an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. It's just tremendous. Thank you very much.
Oh, man, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it, and you guys have a great day.
You too.